Yes.
If you if you get a permit from your oppressor for a slotted time and space to air your grievances, that's not a protest, it's a parade.
It's a parade. You're not foes, you're fans. That's all. And let's be very clear. This is part of the reason why I still insist that the Democratic Party is more dangerous than the Republican Party. When the Democratic establishment is going after Hassan Piker, who I honestly don't have any love for, but like I said, the reason why he's catching the flack that he's catching is because he's gone off script on Israel, and they can't have that. The Democratic Party is not giving up Israel. If Andy Bashir, who is probably the most reasonable state elected official that could have presidential aspirations, he's the governor of Kentucky, and he's saying, why are you giving me such a hard time about Israel? If he's off on that, just think about how bad the party really is on that. And liberal Zionism is much easier to sell than neocon Zionism. It's a completely different animal because it's nicer, it's sweeter. We feel really bad, but hey, people have to die in order for Jews to feel safe. And if you think for 1 second that the Mark Levins, the Bill Kristols, the David Frums of the world are not going to fully embrace the Democratic Party when they welcome all of the neocons with open arms because the GOP is going to turn into an America First party led by Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens. Trust me when I tell you, it's coming. It's already happening because they're rolling out the red carpet for Newsom, for Pritzker, for Shapiro. The fact that Josh effing Shapiro thinks he's presidential material just goes to show you how dead that party is. And the only reason it's not dead is because the GOP is trying to give them a lifeline. Hey, here, we don't want this. You take it. It's a bunch of billionaire Zionist oligarchs like the Ellisons, like the Adelsons, like the Partridge family. All jokes aside.
Don't talk shit about the Partridge family.
At the end of the day, this is a billionaire Zionist oligarchic chess game. That's all it is. So if they decide this time the Democrats win or the next time the Republicans win, who cares? As long as the corporate hegemony stays in place.
Well, that's why it's so interesting. What's interesting to me is how people, like, especially in the lib community, think that somehow winning the midterms is this gotcha victory and that somehow is going to do anything. Does anybody see the pattern? Does anyone see the pattern? I mean, how many times does the sitting party lose the midterms? It's useless. Exactly. Oh, I like that graphic. I don't know exactly what the
looks like. It's Chinese.
Yeah, put what that is in there. I like that whatever it is behind the Palestinian flag, but that.
And the reason we know that it was all a lie, the reason we know it's always been a lie and will continue to be a lie is because, as I'm sure a lot of you know, the Bibi Files is something that has become front and center. A lot of people have been talking about it. But you know what we've been talking about since the very beginning of this entire genocide conflict? This is all a setup. Just like 9/11 was a setup, just like Building 7 setup, JFK setup, 93 setup, Gulf War, second Gulf War, invasion of Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Libya, Lebanon, Somalia, Yemen, and I can keep going. Point is, if you can't see what this really is, you're blind. You're just blind. What have we said from the very beginning? That Hamas is a product of the Israeli government. And Netanyahu's been funding them forever. You don't believe me?
But I would argue that even if that weren't the case, and it was whether or not it was organic, whether or not it was planted, it's really irrelevant, right? Like the key thing is that people that are being oppressed get to resist by any means necessary. So it doesn't matter to me the nature of their resistance. Like the idea that we even get to discuss how people get the boot off their own neck. Like how is it we get to say so and how other people get a boot off their neck?
Well, it would make sense if people didn't realize that one person's terrorist is another person's freedom fighter. But what if that freedom fighter terrorist is being funded by the very people who claim that they're terrorists? Yeah.
Well, that's the irony of the performance and the theater that Zionists have been putting on for so many years. Like, that's how ridiculous it is. And now it's all being seen for what it is. But the existence of Hamas is not like, yeah, there's some of it, I'm sure, to some extent, that is part of that mess. But the regular people that are there that live with that, that's irrelevant how Hamas came to be and what they do and who they are. It's the only thing those people have as an organized force. So yes, I know people would much prefer that they just roll over and just lay down and die. You know what? Remember that thing when this all started? We had that clip of those two total pieces of shit podcasters saying things like, well, yeah, if you could just push a button and get rid of all the Palestinians.
Yeah, the bald-headed jabroni, that dumbass.
Yeah, the Jew, whatever those guys. You remember that?
The two good Jew boys, or whatever they called them. It was like something like that. It's like two good Jewish boys.
Right. And I remember at that time being so like, I could not fathom how somebody could think that. And it just occurred to me yesterday that I now think that. I think that. I actually thought, like, if I could, and I wouldn't push a button, you know, I'm more of a magic wand kind of person. But if I could wave my magic wand and eliminate all of the Zios, you know, specifically Israelis, but we could go further than that, in one fell swoop, and they would all just drop dead, I would.
Yeah, she would.
I would do that.
She would.
And so it's insane to me that I went from somebody looking at somebody saying something like that and being like, oh my God, I can't believe that. And now fast forward 2 years. And yeah, if I could wave my magic wand, and yes, I do have one, I would most definitely they could all just die.
And that's a huge part of the problem. The ADL, Greenblatt, the conflation is a huge part of the problem. And here's another huge part of the problem that's a major inconvenience.
The public blames Netanyahu for October 7th as the one who fed the beast. He did not create Hamas, but he fed it.
Netanyahu, who is against peace and who is against having a Palestinian state, dealt with Hamas for a long time as a strategic friend.
I
guess that wasn't such a sealed room, was it? Because if that was confidential, then we wouldn't be sitting here watching it. So clearly, you got a mole or two.
Or maybe there's some people who worry that they might actually be killed and they don't want to have to go down for this animal well, shouldn't say animal, just say demon. Yeah, demon's better. For this demon.
There's always resistance. And even amongst in Israel, the very few people in Israel that are on the right side of history, and they are there, it is a small percentage, that's true. Those people understand why we need to lance them like a boil. Like, they get why the world hates them. They don't feel like, they don't take it as a personal slight. They know that they live somewhere that's fucked up. So I do know those people exist. And they support us. That's what I know. So, yeah.
It was important for him to keep Gaza under the control of Hamas and keeping the West Bank under the control of Fatah and preventing them from being united in any way. In order to do so, Netanyahu was all the time helping Hamas to survive.
At the same time that he was under investigation, He arranged for Hamas to receive $35 million every month from Qatar.
Is this the trailer or is this just a clip from the documentary?
This is part of the Bibi Files movie.
Okay.
$35 million a month from Qatar.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Well, you know, it's all going up in smoke because Qatar and UAE and all those places, they are so screwed right now. It will take them so long to rehabilitate from the shit show that they're in right now. So, you know, they lived large for a while and that was fun.
Oh, yeah.
Their own people are cheering for Iran in those countries.
We'll continue.
Netanyahu can't give the money by himself. Israel will not give money to the Hamas. You cannot even transfer this money through banks, because even the banks don't want to cooperate. So you, the Israeli Prime Minister, needs to beg this small and very rich country, Qatar, to give money to our enemy.
These suitcases of money was given to Hamas under the request of Benjamin Netanyahu.
As you can see, the US dollar is still the world's hegemon. And it's the biggest reason why these countries do not step out of line. It isn't a question of whether morally they agree with Israel, they don't. But they also understand that it's called Operation Choke Point for a reason. You get out of line, we're going to choke off your money supply. But this is where the war with Iran is not going the way that the West anticipated it would go. Why? Because Iran is choking off the U.S. and Israel's choke point of money with the Strait of Hormuz. That's a big problem. Not that it chokes off everything, but that what it actually does, because of it shutting off, let's say 20%, it causes a massive inflation when we already have an inflation crisis in the United States. It's already too expensive because the system's broken. Let's break it a little more. Let's break it more.
Well, they're just going out with a bang. You know, they're just going out with a bang. You know, the Strait of Hormuz, for people interested, it is not closed. It's closed to us.
Us, yeah.
Right. See, it's open if for people who trade in or using Chinese yuan. I think it's the yuan. Is that correct? If they're using that currency, they're allowed to go through. People using the dollar aren't allowed to go through. So the strait is open. But what is now happening right now, which I predicted a long time ago, is they're setting the product on fire. They're setting the fuel infrastructures on fire. So it doesn't even matter if the strait is open, Donnie, because there will be no product to go through the strait. And that is actually what they're doing right now. Iran has been so strategic. They took out our bases. They took out our radar. They've been going nonstop after Israel. Israel has been taking a beating that we are not getting real reporting on. Okay, that's first. What's happened on our bases has completely neutered us in that area. The Marines that are, whatever this mission is a suicide mission. They're not ever going to reach any island or any place anywhere to do anything. And if they ever did, they have no means of getting supplies and they have no means of getting out. So this is absurd. It's already done. We are so screwed. And I kid you not, people, I don't care if he gets the strait open. The fuel situation has become, and I was just watching Jeffrey Sachs on with Judge Knapp, and he has said we have reached the point where the damage is irreversible in terms of the fuel chain, the energy chain. We have done damage that will take years and years and years to fix. This isn't going to be like the 70s where they just put a stop on it and we weren't being able to get fuel. This is going to be, there is no fuel because Iran has bombed the refineries and has bombed our product in all of our bitch places after they took out all of our defenses there.